And we'll have the record show that all 6 of us are present. Next item is citizens' comments. I have a couple of correspondences to read from citizens since the last time we met. And if anyone wants to share their comments, they can go into the chat button and enter their name and address. And then after we're done with my reading correspondence that's come in, then we'll get to the folks who are in line. So let's see, the first one, this says submitted Monday, June 1st, 4:49 p.m. This comes from Julie Maliff, subject citizens' comments for Board of Finance meeting. Message, good evening, Board of Finance members. Tonight I speak to you while wearing 3 hats. The hat of a parent who has 2 children that attend Thompson Public Schools, the hat of a lifelong resident of Thompson, and the hat of an employee of the Thompson Public Schools. As a team of mental health professionals, we anticipate that upon our return to school, more students and adults will require the type of supports our team provides. Students and teachers have experienced disruption, loss, fear, potential family stress, a lack of security and routine, and academic challenges, which have left them feeling vulnerable and uncertain. Protocols and schedules may be intimidating or stressful, and we anticipate a higher level of anxiety and dysregulational for all. In addition, when a public health crisis is identified in such a way that society abruptly and substantially changes, it constitutes a sense of threat and uncertainty for all citizens. As such, we can expect that many individuals will be reacting from a place of trauma and will require help to reestablish a sense of safety. The simple act of returning to school puts individuals more at risk for both physical illness and emotional symptoms such as anxiety. Students and staff will need more guidance, assistance, and support both emotionally and academically due to the ongoing educational and social disruption caused by the school closure, as well as intrusive and unfamiliar protocols which may be in place. Small children in particular may experience grief and fear associated with being unable to greet each other in familiar ways or having to wear some form of PPE such as a mask. We may be returning to a community feeling unsure, off balance, and anxious. At this time, we cannot afford to lose staff, let alone the crucial mental health staff at Thompson Public Schools. We are at a critical juncture where mental health needs will be at the forefront of every day, and all practitioners have an important role to play. We are already working to maximum capacity on a normal day. The days to come are likely to be anything but normal. Thank you for your time. Julie Maliff, 277 Aquatic Town Farm Road. Okay. I'm looking at the chat window and it says chat disabled. I'm not sure if that's a mistake, but Amy, if you're here, if you have any ability to turn on the chat function, that would be helpful, because I know while I'm reading this, people are going to be putting their name into the chat button to get in mind for citizens' comments.
It should be
this one
now, Aaron. Sorry about that. I didn't realize.
Oh, no worries. No, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So this one is dated May 18th, and this one was sent. We were unable to get this in our hands in time for the last time we had a meeting and or a public hearing. So I'm reading this one now, and I think someone is unmuted. Not sure who it is. I just want to make sure that they don't disrupt the meeting with the background noise coming in.
It's Alvin Hill.
Oh, Alvin, if you could mute, that would be helpful, please. So this is addressed to Thompson Board of Finance, Aaron McGarry, Chair, Robert Woods, Vice Chair, as well as Orla McKiernan Raftery, Director of Finance, May 18th. And it's from Tara Penn-Gessick, Director of Planning and Development. It says, dear members of the board, please accept this letter as you continue deliberations of the FY21 budget. This correspondence is not intended to advocate for or against any specific department's budget. Rather, it is intended to provide some clarification around the concepts and philosophies of economic development as they relate to Thompson. I feel compelled to provide this clarification following some statements made in recent public meetings by members of the public and members of the board. Given the time constraints and the general emotional tenor of those meetings, I fear that I was unable to state my case with the precision called for in the moment. In some of the recent meetings, it appears that some individuals have attempted to paint economic development and education as being somehow in conflict. If the context of anxiety over budget cuts, in the context of anxiety over budget cuts, this may be understandable as an emotional response. However, these two functions are more properly seen as symbiotic. I believe that all parties wish to see a more prosperous future for Thompson. As they have stated, those espousing certain ideologies seem to believe that prosperity will come from outside sources. For example, companies with high quality jobs relocating to Thompson, thus building the grand list. While this is a desirable outcome, emphasizing economic rescue coming from outside Thompson as a first step is unlikely to lead to truly sustainable, resilient local prosperity. As the story of Amazon's 2018 search for a site for its second headquarters demonstrates, companies are conscious of the livability of the towns and cities in which they choose to locate. A community that proves unwilling to invest in the citizens it already has is unlikely to be competitive and appealing to thoughtful employers. The implication should be obvious. In this time when many households will be suffering increased anxiety due to the cascading effects of the COVID-19 response, the investment strategies that should be pursued by the town are those which seek to build prosperity for the community we already have. Investments in education lead to a more desirable future workforce. Investments in incremental community-based development initiatives that lower the barriers for residents starting small businesses in their own neighborhoods help to keep Thompson's dollars circulating within its borders rather than enriching nearby towns. Investments in services to our most challenged residents help to preserve those families' limited resources, enabling improved outcomes on the other side of the current crisis. As I stated at the outset, this letter is not to advocate for any particular department's budget. The board requested that the town's directors and department heads revise their proposals downward, and all have made good faith efforts to do so. My goals in this letter are merely to provide the additional clarification above to refute the false, counterproductive narrative that the town and schools are adversaries, and to encourage the board to fully consider the unintended consequences of prioritizing aggressive austerity measures over community investments. Thank you. Tira Penn-Gesick, Director of Planning and Development. Okay. I didn't receive any other emailed citizens' comments to the Board of Finance since the last time we all got together. But it looks like right now Jessica Bolte of 1081 Riverside Drive is requesting to speak. So Amy, if you can unmute her, that would be helpful.
Hello.
Hello,
I wanted to
Go ahead.
bring up, there was some comments from several of the Board of Finance members why they couldn't seem to understand why some citizens don't see them as being invested, whether on the school or the town side. I stuck to school items as this is the most contentious part of the budget. And I want to note that these were done before the budget was ever put to a referendum and not in reaction to a failed referendum. April 29th, 2015, McGarry wanted the board to consider reducing the Board of Education budget by $140,000. April 7th, 2016, there was a consensus among the board to decrease the BOE budget by $550,000 and to start a capital improvement plan of $50,000 for repairs related to the locker room, gym, and middle school. You were made aware of these issues with the locker room, etc. 4 years ago. There was a plan to start a capital improvement plan for these items, and yet here we are 4 years later, no capital improvement plan and no funds to make these needed repairs when those were brought back up again this year. April 21st, 2016, there was a consensus among the board to decrease the Board of Ed budget by another $127,000. April 28th, 2016, Rhonda Rooney suggested decreasing the Board of Ed budget by another $220,000. April 27th, 2017, there was a consensus among the board to decrease the BOE budget by $200,000. March 28th, 2018, a reduction of $168,144 in the BOE budget. April 19th, 2018, another reduction of $30,000. April 11th, 2019, a reduction of $250,000. April 8th, 2019, a reduction of $159,000. And while we might not have had a referendum this year, May 7th, McGarry made a motion and Mann seconded to reduce the school budget by $755,069. And then another motion to remove another $83,000. In the last 5 years, there's been shown a history of the BOE budget getting severely cut before ever going to referendum with no review of what's actually being affected. The idea of not being able to go through line items is inherently false. Those line items are up for review in each of their particular budget hearings, all of which only one of the Board of Finance members made the effort to attend every single one. The fact that there's minimal participation by Board of Finance members in regard to other boards during budget season is concerning. How are we to trust the decisions you make on behalf of the people you represent when you can't be bothered to attend those meetings? I'm not sure about anyone else, but I have a higher bar of expectations for those who are elected officials. There's no community outreach with your board, and that is a problem. Board of Selectmen and Board of Ed members are constantly participating in town and school programming. I can't turn around at one of those events without bumping into one of them. Know which board members I don't ever see? With the exception of Mr. Herbert, it's Board of Finance members. Where are you if you are so invested in this town? In regards to second session of citizens' comments, the current format does not allow to have citizens make comments on agenda items addressed in the meeting. How are citizens supposed to make an effort in this town when they are continuously told to stop complaining and be happy with what they have? You cannot obtain growth with that. You do not motivate citizens to participate with that thought process. Your format does not allow citizens to make comments before motions. Otherwise, you would have to stop and ask for them, which is not the case. I've been attending meetings for over a year. Not once have you sought citizens' comments on specific agenda items before making a motion. So to say that you allow that to occur is misrepresentative. Rather, the only option citizens have is to make comments at the following meeting, which is in essence shutting the barn door before the cow is already out. Thanks.
Thank you. If anyone else wants to make a comment, they can enter their name into the chat platform, their name and address, and we will unmute you so that you can share your comments with the Board of Finance. Brittany Charbonneau, 56 Juliet Avenue.
Hi, everyone. Oh, hold on, I got a huge echo here. Hang on. Oops. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead,
Okay.
Brittany.
So I just wanted to be sure to just bring to your attention, I know there's not as many people on this meeting today, but I really hope that you guys took into account the voices from many of the Thompson parents who have been really active in trying to put themselves out there for the budget. It's not a reasonable budget. And I hope that you had time to take a look at that petition. Also, side note, I see that Miss Beltram is on here, and I know that she had announced her retirement. So just wanted to give her a quick shout and thank her for all her service to the schools over the years. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. The next person in line is Sean. I imagine that's Sean Brissett.
Yeah, good evening. All I want to say
Hey, Sean.
is, I've listened to every, pretty much every minute of every budget workshop this spring. And one thing that was repeated over and over by a number of the Board of Finance members was that you represent the people, you represent the voters. There was a lot of talk about voters not being able to speak this year. And I guess what I'm hoping for tonight is that every time that you talked about representing the people, representing the voters, and representing the people who couldn't speak, that you meant it. Because I think it's been overwhelming, the amount of public support for restoring some funds to both the municipal and the Board of Ed budget, indicative of a petition with, last time I checked, it was almost 800 signatures. I don't know where it ended up. And countless people coming on these Zoom meetings, many people who normally wouldn't speak at a meeting, feeling the need to speak. I don't know what else people could do. I felt good going into this year's budget process prior to the COVID problem, because I had heard about a parent group that was forming, and seem to be gaining strength. And it's something that we desperately needed every year to get the vote out. And then obviously COVID happens and that changes that. But then this parent group was still strong enough to not only show up to all these meetings, but to pull together a pretty large petition. I don't know what else you could ask for from the citizens in these times than that. So again, I'm just hoping that all the times that the Board of Finance members said, you represent the people and you're looking for what the people want, that you meant it and that you do that tonight, because that is what you were elected for. And I think it's really, really clear what the people want this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And could you do me a favor and just type your street address into the chat platform for the record?
It's 30 Whittemore Ave.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. And so thank you for that. And the next person to speak, the next person in line is Jeffrey Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive.
Aaron, you can hear me?
I can. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Just wanted to throw out some quick numbers. According to the state of Connecticut unemployment rate, we are currently at 7.9% unemployment. So a little bit over my numbers, what I brought up in the last meeting. And according to the local region, the Danielson Northeast region, we're at 8.1%. So we're not anywhere near the US average of which at the moment looks like 14.4 according to their last numbers. But, you know, that's just something to think about.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments at this time? If anyone would like to make a comment, you can enter your name into the chat platform, your name and address, and then we will unmute you and you'll be able to share your comments with the Board of Finance.
Can you make a statement?
I don't think so. I haven't been called.
Okay, so it looks like next person in line is Kathleen Herbert, Wilsonville Road.
How in the hell?
I have no idea. You know Zoom. I don't know it.
Alvin, you're unmuted.
All right. I think they don't know how to do the chat box. If Alvin and Sue would like to make a comment, is that what you want? Alvin?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I will defer to Alvin and Sue. Aaron?
Great. Thank you, Kathleen. We'll come back to you. As soon as Alvin and Sue are done, we'll come right back to you.
Sure.
So Alvin and Sue, as long as you're live, can you state your street address for us, please?
Yeah, 185 Fabian Woodstock Road, Thompson.
Great. And go ahead with your comments to the Board of Finance, please.
Thank you. A point of full disclosure for those who do not know me. I began to serve the town of Thompson as a poll worker back in the 1990s. And since that time, I have been assigned numerous hats as a poll worker, including being a moderator. One job I have repeated many times over my years as a poll worker is that of posting the voter Bill of Rights in a prominent place at our polling station in District 3. In our Constitution, the right to vote appears most often within the text as compared to all our other rights. Why do you suppose that is? Well, the slogan, "No taxation without representation," might echo in the minds of those who are familiar with American history. Taxation without representation equals tyranny. On that note, I will proceed. His Excellency Governor Lamont issued his divine decree, Executive Order 7HH, back on March 10th, wherein he instructed municipalities in the state of Connecticut that they could adopt budgets establish mill rates without the consent of the people. In his words, he gave them the right to quote, and any requirement for a vote on such budgets or mill rates by residents, electors, or property owners, including but not limited to any vote by annual town meeting, end quote. He thereby suspended the citizens of his state their constitutional right to vote. It is my understanding that some towns in Northeast Connecticut made the wise decision this year to flatten their tax curves. They decided to not overstep voters' rights. Unfortunately, yet, might I say predictably, Thompson does not number among them. What does that mean? It means that the so-called leadership in the town of Thompson is complicit with Governor Lamont's unconstitutional decree and therefore equally at fault. Shame. How can the citizens of this town seek justice in this matter? Well, a reporter, Julia Perkins, who has been a reporter with the News Times since June 2016 and covers the towns of Bethel and Brookfield, as well as breaking news for Hearst, Connecticut on Sunday mornings, published an article on May 11th, 2020. And I'm only quoting a short part because I know you have other things you want to do. In the town of Bethel, a finance board member has filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Justice over the governor's executive orders that prevent residents from voting on local budgets during the coronavirus. A finance board member filed the complaint. The complaint claims Governor Ned Lamont and local officials are violating the Voting Rights Act with the executive orders that suspend in-person voting and allow towns, quote, budget-making authority, end quote, to approve spending plans and set tax rates. The governor's executive orders denying our right to vote not only disenfranchises voters of Bethel, but also any Board of Finance members like myself, this is the woman speaking, who are now struggling with an unconstitutional authority that we neither anticipated nor want, wrote Cynthia McCorkindale, a finance board member who is also part of the Bethel Action Committee, a watchdog group that pushes for transparency in government. The governor's office declined to comment. The article goes on. I won't bore you with it. So people, any of you listening out there, any of you who care, this is a heads up moment. Did any member of our finance board in Thompson have the insight to file a complaint with U.S. Department of Justice? Not that I know of. They are all hiding behind Governor Lamont's skirts. Why is that? Well, I would suggest most of us have an idea. It seems they do not care about citizens' rights. They have their own agenda. After all, Lamont did not take their right to vote away. He took away ours. The bottom line is this. We are being forced to accept a denial of our right to vote. That voting power has been put in the hands of a few at the townspeople's expense, in my humble opinion. If the taxpayers cannot vote on their own budget, neither should the finance board members be allowed to vote. What are our options as citizens, short of filing a complaint with the U.S. Department of Justice against Lamont, as well as the finance board I am speaking to now? I have 3 suggestions for the board and the townspeople to consider. Number 1, flatten the budget curve this year. No new taxes. Send out last year's bills. We are in the midst of an unprecedented pandemic and an unemployment rate that rivals the Great Depression. Number 2, Try drive-by voting. It worked in the town of Vernon. Vernon residents approved their budget in a drive-through town meeting last month using a thumbs up, thumbs down method. We are allowed to do drive-by banking, which I believe everyone would agree is an absolute essential during these tough times, and yet we cannot try drive-by voting? Will drive-by voting be a risk to anyone's health? Of course not. Or number 3, allow the people to vote as they always have, but instruct them to follow social distance guidelines, wear the mandatory face masks, don a pair of gloves so surfaces within the polling place do not need to be repeatedly sanitized. Poll workers would, of course, do the same. My final point. How many residents of Thompson are even aware that the Board of Finance, in complicity with the governor's illegal decree to use, has the Board of Finance budget vote, which I understand is scheduled to occur tonight, been publicized in any local newspaper? I haven't seen it in the Thompson Villager or the Shopper's Guide. Is it being hushed up deliberately? God forbid. I did see on page 42 of the Shopper's Guide, dated Wednesday, May 27th, last week, the village of Williamsville, a part of Killingly, published their notice of annual meeting and intent to adopt a budget. As far as I know, Thompson was not equally transparent. According to the Office of Legislative Research, you're probably familiar with it, a nonpartisan research office for the Connecticut General Assembly, the following Freedom of Information statute is cited. Connecticut statutes require public agencies to advertise numerous notices in a newspaper, including notices of meetings, hearings, referenda, ordinances, and many others. The newspaper must have a substantial circulation in the town in which at least one of the parties for whose benefit such notice is given resides. The law allows the notice to be advertised in a weekly newspaper. You may all go to CGS 1 through 2 of the Connecticut General Statutes. You all should be ashamed. You have taken away my right to vote, my husband's right to vote, and every other resident, taxpayer, citizen in this town. You violated the law. Thank you for listening. I have no further comments.
Thank you so much for that. So we'll move on to the next person in line, which is Kathleen Herbert of Wilsonville Road.
Well, I don't have too much to say. I'm not going to get into a rebuttal with Susan or Alvin. I really just want to thank all the parents and who have come out in support of the school and of the town. We could not this year operate on a flat budget. There is no way we can run our town and our school. We need to invest in the town and the school and continue to invest in the town and the school. Jeff Bolte came out with our unemployment rate, which is not anywhere near the national unemployment rates. We are a small rural community. We are not the big cities, and we don't have that much of, that impact of large, huge layoffs, mainly because we don't have the big industries that are doing the large layoffs here. Again, I want to also emphasize what Sean says. If you are truly listening to the people, the overwhelming proportion of the comments were citizens asking you, commenting on and asking you to restore funding to both the school and the town. So if that is your statement was that you are listening to the people are asking you and petitioning for you to restore funding to the school and the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen. Looks like the next person in line to speak is Amy Sainage, 139 Riverside Drive.
Thank you, Aaron. And I'll be speaking in this moment, not only as a resident, but as the first selectman. I will respond to Mr. and Mrs. Hill's statements. This has been a really difficult year. Yes, I'm a new first selectman. Yes, and I've said it multiple times, I wanted to do the drive-through voting. We pay an attorney, we pay a law firm to help direct and guide us. And I was told specifically that we were going to be unable to do that based on the governor's executive orders. Back on May 14th, there was a public hearing. It was advertised. I did not see Mr. or Mrs. Hill in this Zoom meeting at that time. It was open for residents to come and speak their mind. Earlier in April, the Board of Selectmen adopted a resolution that would set the timeline for the budget adoption process. It wasn't perfect. I had hoped that we wouldn't have to continue to move forward with it, but unfortunately we had to. And that brings us here tonight. And I will say, yes, there has been a heavy weight on our Board of Finance to try to find a middle ground between achieving a flat budget and yet still funding the school and the town as properly as they saw fit. And I fully support where the Board of Finance stands right now. The school did not get what they asked for. They did not get their proposed budget, and it's a shame. But I really believe that the Board of Finance did what they had to do. It's not flat. I don't think we could achieve flat. And I said that from the beginning as well. So just know that I feel that the Board of Selectmen did the best that we could. And like I said, a public hearing was published in the paper on May 14th for residents to come and speak their mind. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. If anyone else would like to speak, they can enter their name and street address into the chat platform and hit enter. Looks like Justin Young, 12 Fairway Drive is the next person in line.
Good evening, Aaron. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Justin. Go ahead.
All right, great. I don't have anything prepared tonight, although I think it's warranted that I've spoken enough during this budget season that I should at least make a short comment tonight. I think in the years past, at least the last couple of years that I've been in town, we have sat and said, we need to keep it flat, we need to go close to flat, no raising taxes, you know, everything like that. And essentially each year we end up kicking the can down the road further and further and further and further down the road. I understand that this is a tough year. We're all facing tough financial times. The world is changing. The effects of the last week on a lot of us, on top of our mental health that we're already suffering with, having kids at home, having to deal with changes and being able to just go out shopping, that's starting to affect people as well. And I understand that an additional tax burden on individuals would again affect people's mental health. But here we are, and Thompson has kicked the can down the road long enough. If we kick the can down the road this year, we're going to end up next year in the exact same spot. We're either going to end up with a budget deficit as part of the school budget, and we're going to be asking for X amount of dollars to supplement that, or we're going to be right back in the same position next year, asking to restore the money that we didn't put in this year. I think constantly at least over the last couple of years that I've been here, it's town budget versus school budget, town budget versus school budget. We've got to stop the town budget versus the school budget. It is one budget. We are one town. We are one set of individuals. Every decision that is made in this town affects everyone. If the decision is made to raise the fees at the transfer station, then it affects everyone who uses the transfer station. If if the taxes are raised to supplement the transfer station, then it affects everyone. We can't continue to go down the road of just picking and choosing what gets raised and what doesn't get raised, and what gets funding and what doesn't get funding. Special education at the school is not a choice that any budget person gets to make. The special education students that attend our schools become the responsibility of everyone in town. That's not the decision of Melinda. That's not the decision of Kathleen. That is the decision of the state. The state has decided that they will only fund if it reaches a certain rate. So what happens? Special education and the necessities get funded at the school, and the general education and other things at the school get defunded because they can't support everything with the amount of funds that come in. Same thing with the town. Funding is put out there to support certain things in town, and certain other things get cut. Well, some people want new roads. Well, some people want a better transfer station. Well, some people want new trucks so they can plow the roads in the winter. We all have our wants, but unless we stand up and decide that a tax rate that is reasonable in this town so that we can fund these things, we are just going to continue to kick the can down the road. I really hope that the Board of Finance has listened to its citizens, because I do believe that if we were to have gone to a referendum this year with the original proposals that were out there before we started making the cuts, that we would have had a much better chance at passing both the town and the school this year as they lay. I hope, my sincerest hope is that the Board of Finance has sat back and considered the words that have come out of its citizens this year, and that they will do the right thing and make the right decisions and approve a reasonable budget for the town of Thompson. That's all I have, Aaron.
Thank you, Justin. If anyone else would like to share comments with the Board of Finance, they can enter their name into the chat platform and their street address and hit enter. And they will be unmuted and they will be able to share their comments at this time. If anyone else would like to share comments, just enter your name and street address in the chat platform and hit enter. And I want to make sure that we don't cut anyone off, we don't leave anyone behind. So another opportunity, I guess one more opportunity. If someone wants to share comments with the Board of Finance, they're welcome to enter their name and street address in the chat platform and hit enter, and we will unmute that person. Okay. It looks like there are no further comments to come at this time. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item of the agenda, which is Town of Thompson proposed FY 20 to 21 budget review, finalization, and approval. Now that we've officially stepped into this portion of the agenda, is there anyone on the Board of Finance who wants to share what's on their mind with the other five of us as we step off into this area of the agenda?
Yes, this is Steve Herbert, Board of Finance member.
Go ahead, Steve.
I've given a lot of thought to the budget process we've gone through. I sort of try to prioritize various aspects of our town. We've added quite a bit of funding, at least in terms of percent, to the fire departments, and that's probably appropriate. They fight some fires that could harm us or destroy property. I think the second priority we have to think about is the education of our children. There are children, and I guess it's, for me personally, really hit home this past month when I lost my youngest daughter. I don't think we can do too much to prepare our children for life going forward. I would like to propose, and this is a motion, that we add $500,000 to our budget, $32,171 to the town budget to restore their life and health insurance program, and $467,829 to the school budget. That isn't everything the school wanted for, but it does help them move forward a little bit. For me, this is a bit of an emotional moment. I apologize for that. But we need to not just say we like our children and care about them. We need to actually provide for their education. This is very important. So that's my motion. Add $500,000 to the current proposal that's in front of us. We had well over 100, I think over 150 people participated at the last Board of Finance meeting. I see we're close to that now, 125. Overwhelmingly, the people that have spoken, not everybody, but overwhelmingly, they've come out and said that we need to do better by our children, and we need to support the Board of Education budget. So again, that's the reason and thinking behind the budget. And I hope the other board members would agree with me. Thank you.
So there's a motion on the floor, and Steve, I just want to clarify. I know you said 500,000. So can you just give me the numbers that are for the education side and the number for the town side?
Yeah, the education side would add $467,829 to the current proposal, which is $18,985.13, for a total of $19,448,342, if my math is right. And on the town side, add $32,171 to the health insurance line, for raising the budget of $5,989,773 to $6,021,944. The total goes up $500,000.
Okay, so there's a motion to add $467,829 to the Board of Education budget and $32,171 to the town side, specifically in the health insurance line. That's the motion that's been made by Steve Herbert. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion?
I would appreciate a second so at least we can vote on it.
Last call for a second to that motion. Okay, the motion fails for lack of second. Steve, you still have the floor if you want to share any additional thoughts or comments at this juncture as we step off into this section of the agenda. If you want to share any additional thoughts or comments.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other member of the Board of Finance want to share any thoughts or comments with the other five of us as we step off into this section of the agenda?
Aaron, I'd like to share a thought or comment on it.
Go ahead, Rhonda, and just so you know, it's a little bit difficult to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Now? Better? Worse?
About the same.
Okay. Well, I'll talk loud. I just wanted to extend my condolences to Steve and Kathleen. I had no idea about your loss. I'm truly sorry for that. As far as this budget is concerned, the fact of the matter that people can't vote is a big deal to me. Things are set up for a reason, and you know, that is just the way it is, and that's why we have our government set up so that people can vote. I disagree with Ned Lamont, and I think we should have been able to vote. But not allowing people to vote has put me in a very hard spot. And I personally, and I put it out from the very beginning, think that we should have went with flat budgets, not because we don't need the money and the kids don't need the money, simply because the people can't vote. And when we go against the basic rights of the people, then we also have turmoil that, as we can see, is going on everywhere in the world, in the United States right now over other issues. So I just wanted to put that out there. I do support the current numbers that we put out there, and I'm not making any motion to lower them or anything like that, but I just wanted to put that out there as my reasoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Are there any other members of the Board of Finance care to share their thoughts with the other five as we embark on this item of the agenda?
Rob Mann, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Rob.
I just want to concur with Rhonda. My condolences to the Herbert family. I had no idea that had occurred. I'm so sorry. And I also that I agree with Rhonda with what we couldn't, how difficult it's been with the people not being able to vote and us having to make the decisions, which are very difficult. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Anyone else care to share thoughts with the board at this juncture? Anyone on the Board of Finance care to share their thoughts with the other five, that is?
Aaron, it's Rob Wurge. If I could share a few thoughts, please.
Go ahead, Rob.
I too want to extend my condolences as well to the Herbert family. They'll be in our prayers for sure. A couple things. One, I listening to a lot of the comments, I want to state again that I felt that the public hearing, while it wasn't a official vote, it was an opportunity to vote by your voice and by your position on things. And the community did a terrific job, I thought, sharing where and how they felt on various parts of the budget. So I was listening intently, and that was an important part of the process this year, given the hand that we were dealt, so to speak. But I wanted to share something else, and that was around the increases, the mill rate, et cetera, that we're talking about. We are in a reval year, and that reevaluation is making it difficult to understand the full impact of what the mill rate adjustment will be. But if folks could hang with me for a minute, I want to just share with the board members and others a little bit of the data. One is that the comments that the revaluations, everyone's home went up on a revaluation is simply not true. On single family homes, the fact is that we have 2,892 of those homes. 87, albeit a small number, 87 actually went down. That means their value of their home is lower 5 years later. So maybe not the best place to be, but for folks that are speaking about facts of every home going up, I just want to be clear that that's not the case. More importantly, while the residential home increase, the median was 17.9%, the average was 20.6%. And when we dig a little deeper into that and we look at the split, there are far more homes that are below the average than are above the average. There's 1,716 homes that were below 20.6%. And there were 1,175 homes that were above 20.6%. That means if we were at a flat budget, far more of people in the town would have a lower tax bill. And that would be offset by the 1,175 that would have a higher tax bill. So I think it's important for folks just to understand that what that split looks like. It's not 50-50, it's actually 60-40. 60% of the homes fell below the average of the increase. And what that means, and what I'm really driving to here, is that in wherever we land tonight, and whatever the percent adjustment is on the mill rate, whether it's 0 or 1% or 2%, there will be many, many, many residents in the town of Thompson that will see a reduction in the absolute dollars that they pay in taxes. Now, there'll also be many people on a disproportionate basis. While mill rate goes up X, their tax rate is going to go up far more than X based on what transpired in terms of valuation of their homes. So there's a lot there, a lot of numbers that I went through, but I just think it's important that we're going through this also in a revaluation year. And it's not that one number is one number and it's applied to everyone. It's truly going to be a very wide mix across the population in town. And I hope that those numbers at least shed a little bit of additional light on kind of where the average is and where people are above and below the average. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any other member of the Board of Finance want to share thoughts with the other 5 at this juncture of our agenda?
Jim Bellavance, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Jim.
First of all, I'd like to send my condolences to the Heberts for their daughter. Terrible, terrible thing, and our hearts go out to you. As far as the budget goes, I think with the way things are, with the fact that people can't vote this year, trying to make the budget as flat as possible is the only way for us to go. It's the worst, most horrible thing I've ever had to do is this meeting here. But I just don't think we have any other choice but to keep it as flat as humanly possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I know everybody's had an opportunity to speak, but if anybody has any follow-up thoughts, I'm happy to open the floor back up to that person. If you have any follow-up thoughts, then go ahead.
Thank you, Aaron. I do have a follow-up thought. Thank you for the opportunity. I touched on a little bit of data, but I didn't touch on my thoughts around the budget and where we're at. I want to recognize Steve for his courage to come forward with an additional motion and adjustment for the town and the school. I feel like that at our last meeting, well, not the last meeting, but the meeting on May 11th, we made additional cuts to an already pretty deep cuts in the original budgets. Those cuts on May 11th included an additional $87,000 on the town side and an additional $83,000 on the school side. I voted against the additional $83,000 on the school side. I feel like it went too deep. I feel that Steve's proposal for an additional $468,000 is too much to add back, but I think adding back 0 is the wrong thing to do. And I think we need to view this in the context of the voices we heard and the fact that in quite a few years prior, at least 4 years prior, we took some very aggressive and deep cuts in the school. And I think a modest increase in the school this year would be appropriate. I think where we're currently at is too low. I would support some additional funding for the school, just not quite at the level that Steve was proposing. That's all, Aaron. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. So if any other member of the Board of Finance has a follow-up thought, I'm happy to open the floor up to that person.
This is Steve Herbert again.
Yep. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm a little disappointed at least some of my fellow board members. We did prepare a budget proposal a couple of weeks ago, and then we sent that to the town to get their town hearing to hear the voices of the town. And those voices said that what we proposed initially was too much of a cut. So I don't understand if anybody listened at the town meeting. Any of my fellow board members listened at the town meeting. Rob, I understand. Rob Wirch, I know you've indicated that, but everyone else seems to have ignored what we heard. It was pretty clear that the townspeople, those that spoke, those that said anything, not everybody, but most, wanted to help the school. I'm very frustrated to hear that that message is being ignored. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. If any other member of the Board of Finance has thoughts to share with the other five at this juncture, happy to open the floor back up to that person.
I would like to share.
Excuse me?
I'd like to share.
Go ahead, Rhonda. And so it is difficult to hear you. If there's any way that you can get closer to the microphone, that probably would help.
Can you hear me now? Better?
A little bit better, yes.
I just wanted to add to what Steve said, or kind of clarify what he said, that we didn't hear anything. I have heard everything that every single person has said, and I listened to every single person. So I just want to put that out there. Everybody's words, they never go under deaf ears to me. So I just, it may not be, you know, I may not say what you want to hear, but that doesn't mean I haven't listened to what you've said and put it to my thoughts and in my decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am still in line for sharing my thoughts, but if anybody else has any follow-up thoughts, I'm happy to defer to that person and let them go first. All right, so I do want to share some thoughts. Firstly, I do want to share and offer my condolences to the Herbert family. That's terrible news to hear, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Secondly, I know that during citizens' comments, the topic of the governor's executive order was brought up, and I agree with those who are not happy with the governor's executive order. I really wish that we were not operating under such conditions. I would very much have wanted to send this budget out to referendum and just let the people decide. Having to put together a budget under these conditions, the level of pressure on each of the six of us is nothing like I've ever experienced before, I can assure you. And so Jeff Bolte had raised an interesting point back in May about the possibility of doing a drive-by or a drive-through referendum. He sent that in as part of his citizens' comments, and I noticed when he sent that in, and so I decided to contact our town attorney. And I know Amy touched upon this a little bit in her comments, but I wanted to dig up that email that Ken Slater of Halloran Sage, who is our town attorney. This is on Monday, May 11th. He said, this is now granted, in his response, when I inquired to him, he sent me a number of paragraphs, which that's understandable, but I highlighted the part that really is meaningful to all of us, which is, he says, to make it abundantly clear that in-person voting to approve budgets is prohibited, Executive Order 7HH was issued, which unequivocally confirmed that the budget-making authority must adopt the budget without holding an in-person meeting or referendum. And then later on in his email, he goes on to say, as made clear by Executive Order 7HH, that sentence, meaning the sentence that I'm referencing is a sentence that Jeff Bolte noticed, where it said a town may take action with a town meeting or a referendum. He clarifies here, saying that sentence contained in both EO7S and 7JJ, meaning that sentence saying you can have a town meeting and a referendum, says that does not override the specific mandate that budgets must be approved without an in-person meeting or referendum. And then finally, he says, based on the plain language of Executive Order 7I, 13, and as emphatically emphasized in Executive Order 7HH, and I'm sorry for all the acronyms, but this is his writing. The Thompson Board of Finance must approve the 20 to 21 budget and set a mill rate without holding any kind of town meeting referendum. Those are the exact words of our town attorney. And believe me, I was hoping that he would have shared something different, but that's what he said. So I know that there's a member of the Board of Finance in another municipality in Connecticut who's filed some kind of official grievance at the federal level. I completely understand. In the meantime, I would prefer not to have Thompson run afoul of the law as it stands right now in this executive order. I wouldn't want us to be brought legal action against us by the state of Connecticut, and then we have to incur attorney's fees. I would prefer to just proceed as our town attorney advises us to, and then if at some point in the future it turns out we can revisit this, then great, we'll revisit it. But I would prefer to follow the advice of our town attorney. So that's on the topic of the governor's executive order. On the topic of the unemployment rate in Connecticut. I noticed this just earlier today. On May 21st, 2020, the Connecticut Department of Labor's Office of Research issued a press release. And it says, this is the title of the press release, note, Connecticut's official unemployment rate for April produced by the Bureau of Labor Statistics Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program must be considered inaccurate. Again, this is the headline, must be considered inaccurate. Data collection and misclassification issues in the current population survey, the foundation of the state's residential labor force statistics, caused residential unemployment to be severely underestimated. Again, that is the title of their press release. You go further into this press release, and it says, the Connecticut unemployment rate appears severely underestimated due to challenges encountered in the collection of data for the April current population survey, which is the foundation of the statistical model used to determine all states' unemployment rates. And then finally it says, the Office of Research estimates the unemployment rate to be in the range of 17.5% for the mid-March to mid-April period. This estimate was made using Connecticut residential unemployment insurance claims and adding similar factor for the unemployed, self-employed. So this is a press release from the Department of Labor's Office of Research itself, saying that in their estimation, unemployment in the mid-March to mid-April report was actually in the range of 17.5%. On the topic of unemployment, if you look at the most recent headlines, national news, for where we are with unemployment at this moment, CNBC, this is originally published May 29th and updated Sunday, May 31, so updated yesterday. It says the unemployment rate is expected to jump to 19.8%, up from 14.7% in April. So I know I've said this before, but you have to go back pretty far to find an unemployment rate higher than 19.8%. In fact, you have to go back to 1935. 85 years ago, when the unemployment rate back then in 1935 was 20.1%. And in the meantime, I know that there have been comments in recent weeks saying that the national unemployment rate shouldn't have merit in this conversation because this is Connecticut and we're different. But that's why I wanted to draw folks' attention to the May 21 press release from the Department of Labor saying that that their estimate is that it was actually 17.5%. So that's the economic environment that we're operating in. And so that's why I continue to remain where I did. I believe May 11th was the last, because the public hearing was after May 11th, the last time we took action on this budget, when we created a proposed 0.26 mil increase. I continue to stand firm with where the budget is right now for those two reasons, because we can't send this out to referendum, so the citizens don't have the opportunity to voice their opinion on it. So I agree with those on our board who say we should try to keep this as flat as possible. And also, we are operating in an economic climate that we have not seen for 85 years. And I feel like, personally, I just feel like this is not the time to raise taxes at all. And yet we are the number that we're putting out is 0.26. So just putting out 0.26 is inconsistent with the statement of saying we should be raising taxes at all. But it's not easy to try and weigh so many diverse opinions. There's folks on one side saying raise taxes more, spend more. There's folks on the other side saying cut more, reduce taxes more. And so you've got to, at least I feel like I have to try and find some kind of middle ground. And considering the environment that we're in, I feel comfortable that where we finished off last time on May 11th, I feel comfortable with it right now. Just my thoughts.
Premeditated actions.
So is there any member of the Board of Finance who at this time wants to visit any specific area of the budget? And can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I see Rhonda nodding. I just wanted to make sure that
Yes, I can.
connection wasn't suddenly lost halfway through whatever that long-winded stream of consciousness was. So is there any member, I just want to, if there's any member of the Board of Finance who wants to visit any specific area of the budget at this time, feel free to let us know.
Aaron?
Yes, go ahead, Rhonda.
I just want to put out there to the other members, the only suggestion that I could potentially have is maybe taking a look at the increase and, maybe getting money from fund balance for maybe half of it to reduce the amount out to the taxpayer and what that would look like as far as where our fund balance currently is. If that's
Okay,
something
good question.
you want to entertain. That's, if nobody else wants to entertain it, I'm fine with it, but I thought I'd throw it out there as a thing.
I wouldn't want, Rhonda, I wouldn't want your interest in that particular item to be blocked by the other five. If a member of this Board of Finance wants to investigate a certain area of the budget, I'm personally okay with us taking a look at it because this is our last opportunity to make sure. For each and every one of us, for our own selves, for our own consciences, this is the last opportunity. So I'm okay with doing that.
Well, I'd like to take a look at it then, simply because without the vote again, if we can put, continue with the same increases that we've put out there, but yet possibly take a little out of fund balance and see if we still have a good cushion there or where we're going to be with fund balance. Is Orla on the call today or no?
I believe Orla is connected to the meeting.
Here. This is Orla. I'm here.
Hi, Orla.
Hi. So
would you be able to share the spreadsheet with the meeting?
Sure. So Amy, if you could give me the ability to share my screen.
Orla, this is Amy Sanon. Did you just ask me if you had the capability to share your screen or you're just working on that?
No, if you could give me the ability. It says it's disabled.
Oh, really? It's not on my end. It's saying that one person can share at a time. Let me just see.
Rhonda, are you looking for me to share the budget spreadsheet? That is correct?
Yes, or at least give us some numbers, if, for what we have for potential money coming out of fund balance for things that we, like, for example, there was a request from the school last week, and then any other additional funds that might be coming out of that balance, and then take a look at where we are as a percentage, and then see if we could potentially look at taking some monies out of there to put towards the increase.
Okay,
So if you can't hear it on the screen, maybe you could at least, verbalize it. I don't want the fund balance to go down too low, so we're in a bad spot for borrowing purposes or anything.
so currently I'm sharing the budget book. At least I should be.
I
Okay,
can see it.
okay. Let me just look for the fund balance document from our last financial report, if you just bear with me. Okay, so I'm sharing the fund balance statement from the April financial report. Currently, before, what we're looking at the moment here is we're seeing an estimated surplus at the end of June 2019. And with the additional appropriations that we've appropriated in the current fiscal year, we're at the moment at 2.135. However, we have appropriated 235,000 or 284,000 out of that for the proposed budget. So that reduces it down already. Just bear with me. This is not an Excel spreadsheet, it's a PDF, so just bear with me a moment. Okay, that brings us down to 1.851, which I believe is the percentage is 7% of the current proposed budget. So if the budget was to go ahead as is, we would be at the end of, we would be starting the beginning of fiscal 20 with a 7% fund balance. And the dollar amount will be 1.851. Now, if we're currently anticipating a possible surplus at the end of June 2020, so that would increase by approximately $130,000. So let me add that back in, and that would bring it up to 1.981. And as a percentage of this current budget that we're looking at the moment, it would be we're talking about 7.2%. So that's our starting place at the moment, 7.2%.
Does that include any amount based on what the request was from the school a couple weeks back? Or
It does not.
It does not. Okay. All right. And what is the percentage that they recommend we have in fund balance?
Minimum 7%.
Okay.
Currently, the discussion is ideally 7.5 up to 14%. But based on current circumstances, it's been acceptable by our accounting firm to have our fund balance above 7% for the last few years.
So based on that, I don't want to make any adjustments. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Orla,
Rob,
I just wanted to, go ahead, Rob.
It was a quick question. Sorry, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
Could
No,
you
go ahead.
clarify? Could you clarify for us of the current proposed increase of 468,000? How much of that is coming from fund balance? I think you mentioned it earlier, but I didn't catch the number.
Just bear with me. I believe it's 284,000, but I'll just confirm that. Do you guys see on my screen the budget book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, I'm just going to flick to, yes, $284,117.
284, and the difference is what's in the 0.26% proposed mill. So the 0.26% proposed mill increase is not the full 468. part of it is. It's 468 minus 284,
Correct.
184,000.
Let me bring that up in the, let me see, I'll go to the book. Yes. So as you see, we've reduced it by the 284. So if you were to break it down into the difference between the 468 and the 284, you're correct.
84.
It is a difference.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So in essence, where Rhonda was going, we've already been to this degree. She was asking if we could go further, but we've already gone there to the amount of 284 of the 468.
Correct.
Orla, this is Aaron. And so just to clarify, and I think we discussed this earlier in the budget season, but just to revisit it, years ago when I was getting my Master of Public Administration at UConn, I seem to recall when I took a budgeting course, they said basically, thou shalt not go below 7%. That once you go below 7%, Standard & Poor's and Moody's and Fitch, if you go to borrow money and you show them what your fund balance is and it's below 7, you can pretty much rest assured that that will have an adverse effect on your bond rating at that time.
That is correct. And we're rated by Moody's currently.
Yep. But any of the three,
Correct.
if you go to borrow money and you have less than 7%, you can pretty much rest assured it will have an adverse effect on your rating.
Yes, that is correct.
Which basically means that the interest rate that you must pay for any money that you borrow, the interest rate will be higher as a result of your bond rating going down.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And also one of the other things I want to just remind people, we are in the process of looking to obtain short-term and reduced amount long-term funding for the roof project that we're in the process of applying to the Connecticut State Department of Education for. So we will be in need to borrow some money to pay for the difference of the amount that is not being funded by the state.
And this is Aaron again. Orla, if I follow you, that means we would, knowing that we are going to be going out into the market very soon to borrow money, it would be a good idea if we make sure that we do not go below 7%.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else on the Board of Finance have any specific area of this budget that they want to visit at this time? Because if not, then I would go ahead and make a motion to pass this budget as is. So I just want to sort of stand back for a moment. If anyone else has any place in this budget they want to visit, I'll give them that opportunity. If no one speaks up, then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to pass as is. So I'll just wait for a moment.
Aaron, it's Rob Werge.
Go ahead, Rob.
I commented earlier that I thought the school was too deep. When I say I thought, I'm not speaking about Rob Werge. I'm speaking about Rob Werge, through what I've heard, through the voices of the folks that took the time to attend the public hearing and put a petition together. It's not my own personal vote. My own personal vote may actually be different. It would be different because I'm not a proponent of increasing taxes. But listening to what's transpired, listening to what the school needs, looking at where the school is today after this year that they just went through, given the special ed stress, financial stress that was put on the school finances, and then listening to the people that have come forward, I'm not comfortable with the current position we're at with the school. Again, I think I could support some level. I think Steve's proposal was too high for me to support, but I could support some level of an increase back in the school, somewhere around 125,000. That would get them closer from 370 to about 495. And I just feel strongly that if we don't do that, and I'm taking into consideration all the other board members' comments around flat, et cetera. I feel like if we don't do that, we're really doing a disservice to where the community is asking us. You know, they voted us in office, and now we're, by virtue of the governor's orders, we're now voting for the budget. And I just don't feel comfortable at all leaving it where it is. If we were to add the 125,000 to the school, and you looked at the ratios that I talked about earlier in terms of the revaluation, there would still be more than half of the homes in the town of Thompson would see a reduction. And I could send that data out. But even if we add 125,000 to the school, the net impact of that new mill adjustment reflecting that, more than half of the homes in the town of Thompson would see a lower tax bill than they did last year. So that's good for that half. Now the other half is disproportionately higher. I understand that, but we're never going to be at a flat or at 1% for everyone. It's going to be spread out disproportionately based on values of homes. So I guess where I'm heading with all this, Aaron and the other board members, is that I would like to propose in a form of a motion to add $125,000 to the school, leave the town where it is, and add the $125,000 to the school budget, taking them from the incremental 370 to 495.
Okay, so there's a motion made by Rob Words to add, you said 125,000?
That's correct.
So motion by Rob Words to add $125,000 to the education budget. Is there a second to that motion?
This is Steve. I'll second that.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to add $125,000 to the education budget. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Yeah, this is Steve again. Although I did second Rob's suggestion or Rob's motion, I would favor a much stronger, much better improvement in the Board of Education's budget. But this is better than what we did 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing no additional discussion, I just want to make sure that all members of the Board of Finance are unmuted so that they can vote on this. So we'll go around the table. Jim Bellavance, how do you vote?
No.
Rob Mann, how do you vote?
No.
Rhonda, how do you vote?
No.
Rob Words, how do you vote?
Yes.
Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I'll vote no. So this one does not carry. This is 4 no's and 2 yeses. Okay. Is there any other part of this budget that anyone wants to visit? And it could still be the Board of Ed section of the budget, but like I said, I'm sort of standing on the sidelines. I'm ready to make a motion to pass this as is, but if anyone else wants to visit some aspect of this budget, I'm happy to stay on the sidelines and let them go ahead and discuss something or propose something. All right. If there's no further discussion, no further direction, no further visitation of any specific area, I want to make sure that I get this motion correct. So, Orla, maybe you can help me. The motion that I make is that the Board of Finance approves this budget that's in front of us in the total amount of $26,773,231.
That is correct.
All right, so that motion, that's the motion that we would need in order to accomplish this. Yes, Orla?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so I make that in the form of a motion. Does someone want to second that motion?
This is Jim Bellavance. I'll second that.
So Jim's got the second. Any discussion on this motion?
I have a couple of discussion points. Rob Wirge.
Go ahead, Rob.
If we move forward with this as proposed or as the motion was stated, and knowing that we have an issue in front of us, we don't know the full magnitude of it, but we know we have an issue in front of us with the school overruns due to special ed this year. That's going to have to be resolved by the town. It's a town issue. It's not a school issue. And knowing that our tax collector very much encouraged us to increase the reserve for bad debt or uncollected taxes by about $100,000. Knowing that we have those two problems, I believe passing this as proposed would put us under the 7% threshold and cost us significant money when we go to borrow for the school roof. Orla, you could confirm that if those two elements would put us below, but given the other ratios that you shared, I think they would almost absolutely put us below. So I feel like we ought to take pause and think about that, because if we pass it as proposed, we could very much be costing ourselves a significant impact in our borrowing interest rate moving forward.
That is correct. It will bring us lower than 7%.
Any other discussion on this motion?
I'd like to just concur with Rob on that. And that's why I brought that up before, is if the amount of funds that we're anticipating to remove additionally, that wasn't shown on the screen, which is the special ed money for the school when they come back with that number. We need to balance that so we're at least at the 7.01%. So possibly estimating removing some of this 0.26 out of fund balance. Just throwing it out there. I don't think we should drop below the 7% either.
Any other discussion on this motion?
Jim Bellavance, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Jim.
I also do not want to see this go below 7%.
Any other discussion on this motion? Orla, could you just remind us of what percent the fund balance / surplus would be under the budget that we're looking at right now?
It would be approximately 7.2%.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go around the table. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Mann?
Rob Mann, yes.
Rhonda? Rhonda?
She might be.
I think you're muted. You're muted, Rhonda.
Yes.
Okay, Rob Wirge?
No.
Steve?
Steve Herbert, no.
And I'll vote yes. So this one passes 4-2. So that means we move on to the next item of the agenda, which is set the mill rate for FY20 to 21. Orla, if you could scroll down that page just a little bit, it looks like the mill rate would be 24.23.
Yes, that is correct.
So I'll make a motion that we set the mill rate for FY20 to 21 at 24.23. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion. Jim Belvance.
Jim's got the
Got that.
second. Any discussion on this motion? Again, this is a motion and a second to set the FY21, the FY20 to 21 mill rate at 24.23. That's what the motion and the second would do.
I guess this is
Any
Steve.
discussion? Go ahead,
This is-
Steve.
Maybe I'm not sure I understood Orla's responses, or if the questions were the same, actually. The coverage ratio of 7% or 7.2, I thought you mentioned to Rob Wurge that the rate would drop below 7. And then I thought you heard it was 7.2. So I'm not exactly sure what we're facing. What does happen there?
So, so Steve, this is Orla. So currently with the appropriation of the 284,000, with the current budget, it will leave us with approximately 7.2% of the budget. This is before any additional appropriations, for example, the possible deficit with the Board of Ed. This is before that.
Or the raising the bad debt reserve, for lack of a better term.
Correct.
Thank
It
you.
is before both of those things.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this motion? Again, this is a motion to set the mill rate for FY20 to 21 at 24.23 mil.
I have a discussion point, Aaron.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Steve, thank you for clarifying that. Both answers were correct. It's 7.2% as proposed, which would keep us in good standing for our bond rating. However, the two items that I brought up, one of them may or may not happen. The uncollected tax may or may not happen. We have an expert telling us that it's very likely it would, and we have a significant amount of data telling us that people are struggling to make ends meet, let alone pay their tax bills. The second is very likely to happen because we went through that. So, you know, by voting for this, it's in essence ignoring the reality and the responsibility that's in front of us to fund the deficit of the school this year. So when certain members are saying they don't want to support going below 7, by voting yes, in essence, you're getting us below 7 because we can't ignore that obligation of a deficit on the school just because it hasn't happened yet. It's been brought to our attention. It's on the table, and it was on our last meeting's agenda. So again, I think not taking care of that and not putting enough in the budget this year to cover us adequately to have an appropriate bond rating would not be a good thing moving forward.
Rob, this is Steve. Yeah, maybe I was a little too subtle, but yeah, that was my point.
Any other discussion on this motion?
Yes, Aaron?
Go ahead, Rhonda.
That's my thought process too. So I know the motion's on the table and second, and we want to put the mill rate out and stuff, but, and I don't know the proper process to do this, but I wanted to be sure that once all the anticipated, money that comes back into fund balance after we close out the current budget versus the expenses that we're looking at that haven't been included in the fund balance numbers, that we take into consideration reflecting that and possibly moving maybe, you know, 50 grand of the I can't see it on the screen right now, of the amount that we had taken out of fund balance initially and moving it over to the 284, maybe taking 50 of the 284 and bringing it over. Would it put us in a better position with all the anticipated gains and or expenses that we currently know that we are facing? So I don't know how to stop the motion or how to, you know, put it out there any differently, but I think that's important for us to look at, because if we are looking at potentially putting loans out there fund the roof and, you know, all that stuff, we want to make sure that we can get the best rate possible. So that is a concern of mine still. So, and I do realize, you know, voting yes, kind of go, I thought maybe with the 7.2, we were still safe, but we're, you know, based on that analogy, which is what I was trying to get at initially, I think we should take a look at that But I mean, I don't know where we are or how to proceed, being that we already put the motion out.
So let me hopefully see if I understand what you're saying. You were wondering if it would be possible to reduce the $284,000 surplus amount that's plugged into this budget for FY21, thus increasing taxation for the dollars that are not taken from surplus, and then restore those dollars to surplus?
Yes, if needed, based on the anticipated numbers that Orla put out there.
Okay.
And I mean, it may be 20,000 that we might need to switch over. I don't know what the number is. She just went through the different percentages. So I'd like to, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'd like to at least look at it before we put it out.
So just point of order, we did just take a vote on Town of Thompson proposed FY 20 to 21 budget review finalization and approval. We just took a vote on it, and we literally moved to the next item on the agenda, which is to set the mill rate.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know once something's done if we can't take it back, but if that's the case, then we'll just move. I'll just move forward. That's all.
I know that there's been some discussion about the possibility of a Board of Education deficit and what impact that may have on fund balance in FY21. I wouldn't want this board to overlook the fact that as of May 13th, that supposed proposed deficit was at 351,477. That's as of May 13th. And then 7 days later, it was down to 258,626. So suffice to say that is a moving target. It may or may not be at the 258,626 number by the end of the fiscal year. We're not exactly sure where that will be or if there will be any at all. It is a moving target. So as far as any special appropriation from the Board of Finance in FY21, that is a wait and see situation at this time. Literally, it is a wait and see to see what happens between now and the end of the fiscal year.
This is Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Herbert, Board of Finance. The reason for it sounds like the number is changing wildly, but it really isn't quite that. The change from the 350 to roughly the 250 was because the Board of Education incorporated anticipated savings with the bus company. That amount of savings may go up or down a little bit, but it's not as if it's going to swing $100,000, tomorrow kind of thing. So, although there was a big change in a week, it was explained by the recognition of potential savings or recognition of anticipated savings from the bus company.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this motion? Again, this is a motion to set the mill rate at, Orla, if you could swing back over to that summary page. This is a motion to set the mill rate at 24.23 for FY21. Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go around. Did someone want to speak? Okay. We'll go around the table. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Mann?
Rob Mann, yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Rob Wirge?
No.
Steve?
No.
And I'll vote yes. So this one carries 4-2. So that completes the setting of the mill rate for FY20 to 21. The only item after that is adjournment. So unless there's anything anybody else wants to discuss, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion, Aaron.
Wait, Rob Words, did you make the motion?
I sure did.
Okay, and so someone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Rhonda's got the second. So all in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone
Aye.
oppose? And does anyone abstain? All right, so that carries 6-0. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.